James was a long-haul trucker, used to spending lonely nights on the road. One evening, after driving for 16 hours straight, exhaustion forced him to stop at a remote motel just off the highway. The place was nearly empty, save for an old man at the reception desk who handed him a key to room 104. As James settled into the creaky bed, he felt an overwhelming sense of unease. The room was dimly lit, with a single flickering bulb overhead. He pulled the covers over himself, determined to sleep. But just as he closed his eyes, he heard a faint whisper. James shot up, his heart pounding. He scanned the room, nothing. Shaking it off, as exhaustion playing tricks on him, he lay back down. But the whispers grew louder. Then came the sound of something dragging across the floor. He turned toward the corner of the room, where a dark figure loomed. Its shadowy form was humanoid, yet twisted, its face an empty void. James froze, unable to move as the thing crept closer. Summoning every ounce of strength, he lunged for the door, yanked it open, and sprinted to the reception area. The old man looked at him knowingly. Room 104. You should have never gone in there. That room's been empty since the last guest disappeared. James never asked questions. He simply grabbed his keys and drove away, never stopping at another motel. In the dead of night again, Mark and his friend Jason were returning from a late-night party when they decided to take a shortcut through an old country road. It was past midnight, and the road was eerily quiet, shrouded in thick fog. As they drove, Jason spotted a woman standing by the roadside, her white dress swaying slightly in the breeze. She raised her hand, signaling for a ride. Mark hesitated, but Jason convinced him to stop. The woman got in, her face partially hidden. Beneath a veil of dark hair, she spoke in a soft, emotionless tone. "Thank you. I need to go home." Mark asked for an address, but she simply pointed ahead. Minutes passed in silence before she finally whispered, "Slow down." Confused, Mark obeyed. Just as he rounded a bend, he saw a collapsed bridge ahead. He slammed on the brakes, stopping inches from the edge. If they had been driving any faster, they would have plunged to their deaths, shaken. They turned to thank the woman, but the back seat was empty. A cold chill ran down Mark's spine as he and Jason realized what had just happened. They drove away as fast as they could, never speaking of that night again. But they always wondered, who was she? And how many lives had she saved before Demnana and her husband? David moved into a quaint old house on the outskirts of town, excited for a fresh start. Their new home had charm, but something felt ... off. From the first night, strange occurrences plagued them. Doors creaked open on their own, whispers echoed through the halls, and shadows flickered in the corners of their eyes. One night, Nina woke to the sound of footsteps in their bedroom. She turned on the lamp. David was fast asleep beside her. The footsteps continued, growing louder, until they stopped right next to her bed. Terrified, she reached for David, but a cold, unseen force gripped her wrist. She gasped as the pressure tightened. She couldn't see it, but she could feel it. Then a chilling voice rasped in her ear. The next morning, David found long, deep scratches along Nina's wrist. That was the last straw. They packed their bags and left immediately, leaving everything behind. When they told the landlord what had happened, he simply shook his head. "You're not the first ones. That house doesn't let anyone stay for long." To this day, the house remains vacant, but locals swear they still see flickering lights and hear whispers when they pass by on a quiet night.